3 years ago. And he sacrificed himself for the good of humanity after trying to get God to do the right thing and couldn't because he's just self-obsessed. So that was the end of Metatron as far as I know it.
Nobody died on Supernatural.
That's what everyone tells me. I don't know. I mean, the thing about it is, it's getting to the point with shows like Supernatural where they bring back everybody so much that, you know, you start wondering whether death is worth anything at all, you know, as a plot device.
Yeah.
It just becomes, well, you know, this was horrible, but then next episode they're back. So, but I don't think that's going to happen with Metatron. I would be surprised if they brought Metatron back. Sorry to say. I love it.
Now, you've done a lot of other TV work. The one thing I'm probably most curious about is Hot in Cleveland. What did you
That wasn't what I was expecting.
Well, I mean, it's very late. So it's kind of, it's a random TV show. I know maybe not a lot of people have seen it, but I'm
No, it just
curious.
surprised me. I mean,
I'm just curious to know, what you enjoyed about working on that TV show.
I'll tell you exactly what I enjoyed about it. I loved those 4 women deeply. Those 4 women are so fantastic. They're so gifted. If you put them all together, it's like a university of television comedy acting. I mean, they're just amazing, and they were very welcoming and very sweet. It didn't really work out with that character, I felt, because it was somebody that they didn't really, I mean, they had this sort of idea that he was this big, beautiful guy with, rippling muscles across his chest, and, you know, because she goes on and on about her ex-husband, you know, and then now he's going to show up. And he shows up and it's me. And it was like never really explained why she described him as this Greek god and then I show up. So it was, there were a few things that didn't quite make sense there. But I was on it for 2 weeks and I loved every minute of being with those women.
Yeah.
Nice.
All right, so let's take our first question from an audience member.
Hello, welcome to Orlando. Thank you for coming. And my initial question has already been answered, but I do want to say congratulate you on your entire historic body of work in film and TV.
Oh, thank you.
We have enjoyed you very much on Supernatural, and I think that the recent episodes between, with you and Chuck/God were so beautifully
They're beautiful.
performed.
Yeah, thank you.
Is there anything on the horizon we should be looking out for? Not necessarily Supernatural.
Yeah, I'm starting, well, it's already, I'm doing a new series that's going to be on Amazon. We're starting it in October, November, and it's called Heistin. It's a half-hour single camera comedy that Sacha Baron Cohen is executive producing, and it's being directed by Jonathan Dayton and Valerie Ferris, who directed Little Miss Sunshine, and written by Bob Nelson, who wrote Nebraska. So it's a pretty awesome, creative lineup, and really odd, really funny, quirky little half-hour show, and we're just getting started on it. So, but it should be on the air by January or February.
Fantastic, thank you.
Yeah.
Hey,
Yes.
my name is Edward. Despite all the roles you've been in, I think the undisputed best is that of Dr. Friend. I was just wondering if you'd be coming back to town as a regular anytime soon.
No, I don't think so. I don't really know what the deal is with that, because I was asked to come on back during, we were doing King of the Nerds, the TV show King of the Nerds. Love that. And he is a big fan, he was a big fan of King of the Nerds. He loved the show. And he liked, the Revenge of the Nerds and, the movies and so on. And so I was on there mainly to promote. And he liked having me there. And so he just kept saying, or Aaron would call me and say, will you come back on the show? So I kept coming back on the show, and I was playing Dr. Friend, and I didn't know, this is Harmontown, for anyone who doesn't know what I'm talking about. Dan Harmon created Community, he has this show. And I did it for like the summer. I kept going back week after week after week. I would go back and do Harmontown, and then they just stopped calling. Okay, that's my cue to leave. So I'm not sure. Maybe one of these days he'll give me a ring and I'll go back. I'd love to. I love doing it.
Thanks.
Thank you. Hi. I think you might want to yell.
Who inspires you?
Who inspired me?
Yes.
You mean as an actor?
Yes.
There were a bunch of actors. That's a really good question. There were a bunch of actors who did back in when I was young, and one of them was an actor named George C. Scott, who I thought was one of the great actors ever. And another one was a man named Jason Robards.
Oh, yeah.
So these are both American actors, but they're from a period that you might not be familiar with. But they're tremendous, tremendous actors. And probably more than, oh yeah, and then some of the classic horror actors like Boris Karloff and Bela Lugosi, people like that. I adored them. And from a comedy standpoint, flat out, Stan Laurel and Oliver Hardy. Those would be the ones, and I know you may not have heard of any of them, but they're all awesome people. And from my generation, they were the ones that we sort of looked up to.
Okay.
You're very welcome, thank you. Hi.
Hi. What was your favorite movie to film and why?
My favorite movie, what?
To film.
Oh, to film. That's always a hard question because there are reasons for liking different ones, but I'll say there's a movie, it's weird. There's a movie called Route 30, which no one has seen. It was an Indian. Oh, you have, of course you have, Alex. But Route 30 was this little comedy about theater and a small town in Pennsylvania. And theater was where I got my start as an actor, at the theater where we filmed the movie. And no one knows about it. Dana Delaney's in it, Robert Romanus, a few other people you might know, but no one knows this movie. It's my favorite of all of my movies. It's one that I can still watch and cry watching. Not me, because I'm not actually that good at it, but Dana Delaney. Dana Delaney is awesome. So that's a great, great movie.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm gonna real quick ask something while they're researching that mic. I wanted to ask what are your favorite things about voice acting versus your favorite things about live action?
It's a totally different method, and it depends. Different TV shows do them different ways. So, for example, there was one I did back in the '90s called Eek the Cat, which then became Terrible Thunder Lizards, and somebody remembers that? It was Savage Steve Holland, who you might know from Better Off Dead and One Crazy Summer. It was his, with Bill Kopp, they developed this really brilliant animated show. And it was the first one I ever did. And we would all do it together in the room. We would all sit around and record each thing in the room. It was hysterical. And we just had a great time. And then there's American Dad, where they bring me into a booth and they say, okay, now say this line. Now say this line. And I'll do it 3 times or something. And I never hear what the other actors are doing. I never really know, in a lot of cases what the context is, unless it's a big snot episode, if you'll excuse me. And if it's a snot episode, then I actually get the whole script and so on. But so it's very, you know, most of them honestly are like that now. Maurice LaMarche, who's here, he and I did one at Nickelodeon called Robot and Monster, and that was another one where we were all in the room together. And I guess one reason that they don't do it more often is it's kind of time consuming because we make each other laugh. And it's just like fun being in a room with a lot of funny people. You probably get more done by isolating us. So that's why I think it's that way. So it's a different thing. And any kind of thing, theater or stage or film, it's much more obviously a different approach.
So would you say that, I guess with the voice acting, especially on comedies versus live acting, you know, you're still with the group when you're live acting, so it's a lot of like feeding off of each other.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to do, you know, it's almost impossible to do any kind of live acting isolated.
Right.
So it's definitely that, and if you're lucky, you get rehearsal and that kind of thing, but that's almost never happens anymore. So it's just running with it.
All right, go ahead.